Greetings. Okay, trying to get all the tech stuff going. So, of course, Rumble, now when I went to go start it live like I was going to previously, now it says you'd have to have a paid membership. Okay, trying to get let me get this. All the text. Okay, turn that off. Okay, so YouTube is going to have a crazy delay because Zoom forces you to create a whole new stream, even though you have one created in YouTube. So it's crazy. So I had to do the one I had set up for you. You ended up popping in for YouTube. It wasn't letting me connect here for Zoom. So Rumble is out for right now until I can be able to have time to see about what because it said that now you have to have a paid membership, and you have to have at least 5 supporters to even be able to use Rumble. So that was the first time that had popped up for me. So anyway, point is we're here. We're still doing YouTube, but again, it'll be that lag. It is what it is. I've posted in the YouTube chat the link for this evening's presentation, as well as in the chat here on Zoom. So we'll get things rolling. Welcome. I am Christine Bundy on Gibson County, State Coordinator, Lead Recording Secretary for the Indiana Assembly. We are in session. It is the 4th of June, 2023. And we will start with a moment of silence to honor our Creator. All right, and so of course the neighbor decided they were going to start mowing the yard. So you may hear that going on in the background. So let's get the screen share going. I want to thank everybody for working your way here. All right, so we're going to get started with, we're going to read the Declaration of Independence. Everything's probably going to be all squiggly and crazy for technology, but again, hopefully those that are someone that's armored up, willing to do the background check, and has social media technology skills, please reach out, please, so we can be able to help clean this up, to be able to help everybody so that they can be able to get this information clearly. All right, so you should be able to see this. Okay, so those that are on Zoom, anytime if you notice any technical issues, I'm gonna call on somebody, one of you, to be able to let me know, give me a heads up or something if you can. I would greatly appreciate it. All right, we'll go ahead and get things started. So hopefully those on YouTube will get their notifications on that aspect, and we will do the Bivens decision after the declaration, since there are many that like to straggle in later, and so they kind of miss that Bivens decision, and it needs to still be stated. So that'll give some others time to be able to get in onto the call as well. All right, and I will try not to interject as much as I like. Sometimes my comments get added in, but I'll try to stay as close because I do have a lot to go through for us this evening. All right. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. Now, if you'll notice, it's not called the Declaration of Independence. It's the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these, it's not just these, but among these included are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they're accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove these, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Now, I was thinking about this in the past. I've read this where I've changed this to where it was in plural tense and the plural verb usage. But now, given the resident that is there, the singular masculine gender fits just as well. So I'll just go ahead and leave it as it is and keep reading. He has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He's forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in the operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. Why do you think they brought Trump out to DC instead of on either Florida or New York to pull that? He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He's refused for a long time after such disillusions to cause others to be elected whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. That means you guys got to do that. That means movement. That means something you have to do, not throw off on somebody else. The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He is affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined and with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries as to render it once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies. Be careful of what's happening with Illinois, because that's a big example of that as well. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. Literally got the POW flag hanging everywhere as well. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrection amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers. The merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We've warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We've reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We've appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, this is the key line, for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, because that's where we're at now, because it's either protecting the creator or the God that the The neon god is the way the song sounds Disturbed has done for Sounds of Silence, the neon gods that they've made. We're here to protect now the divine providence, and we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Okay. So we'll see if others popped in. I'm not quite, I don't have that sure. I can even see that anyway. So we're just going to let it roll. Okay, so we'll go forward with our screen share again for the business decision. All right, this meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting the inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflicts and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the first time? And if you are on YouTube, you can respond in the chat. You are, as long as you declare yourself and state up front that you are present on the call. Okay, hearing none. Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the second time? Hearing none. Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the third and final time? Furthermore, anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises or the call. All right. So we're going to run through here. Points of clarity. Article 3374, warning signs that you have district infiltrators. The whole article is there, but these are the primary items as they want to attack the leaders. Coordinator Anna James, they want to attack the foundational elements, the paperwork, the assembly process. They want to attack any progress made so far. Attack assembly ability to make money. We are all volunteer. Divide and conquer, gossip and cast doubts, accuse others of what they're doing themselves, and attempt to set up gravy train out of assembly members, hold secret meetings, have private agendas. That's the one that I've experienced many a times, because many want to go ahead and do the work, but they don't want to say that they're actually with the assembly doing the work. So, but yet they want those that they're talking to think that they're with the assembly and have the support of the assembly, but they have not connected with anyone and communicated to start having those conversations with the assembly. And then of course that brings in the divide and conquer aspect, because many feel they have a better agenda, or they want to hijack the meeting agenda and try to impose sorts of censorship. Article 3237, you got three choices. You can join the American State Assembly in your state, declare that you're an American, which to most of us is the obvious fact, and identify yourself as a free man or woman who is owed all the guarantees of the respective federal constitutions. This is the organization that Americans need to support and belong to in order to enforce their constitutional guarantees and receive the protection of the public law. That choice is number one. You can join the territorial district assembly in your state and declare by doing so that you're a British territorial U.S. citizen, a taxpayer, a subject of the Queen, and that you're working in some capacity, such as a warrant officer in the British Merchant Marine Service, aka Internal Revenue Agent, and are merely here as a resident while working for this foreign British controlled government. The word district always indicates a foreign government and political structure based out of the District of Columbia. That choice is number two. That's also to know when on the correct your status on TASA. There's a recording cover page there that many think to go ahead and present, but that is only if you're presenting to a county of county recorder, because they're the ones with the recording districts. Choice number 2. Okay, so, or you can join the municipal district nearest to where you live and declare by doing so that you're a slave and a municipal citizen of the United States who is voluntarily working in the service of the Roman Pontiff's municipal United States government and donating all that you are and all that you have to it. This too admits that you're a taxpayer working within a municipal enclave of the District of Columbia and staying here as a resident on a temporary basis while working for this foreign theocracy. That's choice number 3. All right. Third point of clarity, Article 3245 for all coordinators, the American way. If they're going to act as Americans, they should not expect or demand endless hand-holding. The information is there for them. And, you know, something is wrong when. And many, many searchable articles and other books. As Americans, they will be expected to show initiative and learn about their own history and government and to teach others. That's the piece too. And to teach others. That's where many don't want to do that part. But that's where that's the whole point. We're starting we're trying to get this whole thing. We have a few generations that have to be taught the correct way. So that means you're going to have to teach it. Okay? So get around thinking you don't have to do any part in any way of participate. Everything we're doing moving forward now, because we are light bearers, is that we are teachers. Right? So think of it that way and take it on that way. All right. Reminder of the responsibility of the Federation and how the structure, government structure, here is where it's the corporate government structure. Here's the power flow during state assembling. And this is the power flow after the state has assembled. And again, once the state has assembled, the coordinator's role sunsets. Okay. All right. Mission statement. Our Indiana Assembly is dedicated to the restoration of a completely and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction, state and county court system serving the people of Indiana, the preservation of the national trust, the enforcement of the public law, and upholding of the federal constitution owed to our state and people, the repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction, the filling of vacated public offices, and the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. Many are quick to jump to that one, but don't want to do the work to help to go through that reclamation process. To these ends, we, the living people of Indiana, have called the eligible Indiana nationals and citizen electors to assemble and to serve as jurors and officers. And we have established the process and procedure to qualify jurors and others competent to hold state citizenship and public office. We do this peacefully and without rancor in the exercise of our unincorporated powers and capacities. See the General Assembly Handbook by Anna. Here's the value statement. We stand under the laws of nature. The laws of nature is God, and the 10 Commandments, the Declaration of Independence. We accept the fiduciary responsibility of the Indiana Trust and operate under the prudent man standard. If you don't know what the prudent man standard is, look it up. Okay, you could probably even do a search in Anna's articles and find a few on it. Prudent man standard. Meaning we treat our business as if it were our own business, but not like the current politicians that are there. We keep the peace and uphold the public law. We report crime. We value each man and woman as a unique creation of our Creator and recognize them as powerful co-creator. We willingly choose to self-govern and strive to show up as our best self. That's the difference too. The de facto, the church want come as you are. because they want you to come in your lowest point, your broken point, because they don't want you to get any better. I want to be the best that I can be, so I don't have to deal with them. We willingly choose to self-govern and strive to show up as our best self in each and every experience. And we're federation directed as the assembly process is going. That is why, because there's many out there that are in an adult body or have the age of an adult body, but still have not actually grown up. And we need grown-ups today. It's time for the grown-ups to come in and clean up and get the work done. No more of this playing around. And we haven't had an example of the right way to do it. So now we have to follow what the Federation, because the Federation right now is the only one who knows how to, is the only area where we can get the correct information, because I'm sure I don't trust that which is out there now. They're nothing but liars. Nothing but liars. They don't want to lose their money making deal. Okay. We do not and we will not condone or participate in any form of insurrection, rebellion, or creation of armed forces other than the lawful state assembly militias, operated as they are supposed to be operated within each state, and our land-based Continental Marshal Service, which is our jurisdictional interface with the U.S. Marshal Service. Many come in with their very first email is, I'm ready to get into the fight. Well, we're not fighting here. We perform under the treaties and constitutional agreements already established and for supporting the restored American government, the reconstruction thereof, and will become responsible for the conduct of the restored Confederation and Federal Republic, because we're grown up, we take responsibility. All right. Some quick definitions of reminders of the difference between nationals and state citizens. The reminder, the difference is keyword service, actually doing something. You do have the choice to declare that if you want to be a national or a citizen, but where the rubber meets the road of what a citizen means is, a citizen means you actually stand up and give service to the assembly and support the assembly. That's when you're actually a citizen. State citizen. Those that do move forward are eligible to move forward as state electors, will own their own property, and we're at that point now where we're learning how to get through the land patent process to be able to secure the state electors. All right. Each state assembly consists of one body politic composed of all declared state nationals and state citizens living within the boundaries of each state. Currently, that's right here. Anyone else that's telling you that they're the Indiana Assembly? No, because there's only a very few that have even gotten as far to even present background checks. We have one on the call right now that has even gone all the way as far as what needs to be done. So in order to, if they're saying they're a major player for the Indiana Assembly, they're leading you astray right away. All right. This was an important, I thought this was a great one to remind of the differences, is be not like dumb driven cattle. Study to make yourselves approved and stand firm in what is right. Otherwise, the doorway to the slaughterhouse you were just delivered from is still open and available for you to walk back into. If you're an American, there are only two choices: American state national or American state citizen. If you're not an American and are instead choosing to act as a U.S. citizen of some kind, what the hell are you doing infiltrating a state assembly? And if you'll notice, Anna says, any such persons acting as U.S. citizens seeking to infiltrate and influence our state assemblies must be reported immediately and kicked out and prevented from any further subversive activity. You've got to realize this is not just a social gathering. There are clubs out there for that. This is not the local church get together group that, you know, helps within the community. No, this is the real work. This is, you actually got to come to the table and do something, not just come to see what everybody else is doing. It's time to get to work. All right, here is also through the definitions at etymonline.com. So you can see even some more history back as to serve and duty, and to the level of importance that it has and should. Again, here's the link from Russell Brand that I thought was very important. This is the hard part, to be able to become righteous. You have to actually do some work. All right, so we have the 4 pillars. The General Assembly, that's this call. The General Assembly provides a discussion and decision forum for interstate business and acts as a committee of the whole to decide issues of general interest, conducts elections, and provides oversight for all assembly functions. Okay, this is where everybody, you know, they have discussions about what's going on their county or what's going on from the state level. That's where you have the opportunity that you can send an email. It says that at the end of each agenda, if you have an item that you want to be able to bring forward, we can be able to bring that forward. You got to get involved. Okay. Second is the International Business Assembly, which is composed entirely of state citizens, conducts the international and interstate business of the assembly. The third is the Jural Assembly. That's all the court services, oversees the grand jury, trial juries, officers, and functions of the courts. And fourth is the Assembly Militia. It's focused on promoting public safety within the boundaries of their state, and is the well-regulated militia guaranteed to each state for its internal security. We were behind someone today that had a bumper sticker that said Army National Guard. And I was like, oh, honey, you have no idea what that even means at this point. Because the National Guard was actually the militia that they illegally and unlawfully converted to become the National Guard so that they can steal our men for cheaper labor. All right, some articles to be able to help you if you still had questions about getting further deeper into your course correction process. All right, so let's get into it. So on the call so far, and if you are on YouTube, it's not that far behind, pretty good. Okay, so all right, so we got some on the call. All right, so I'm going to try and get those popped in onto if you are on the call on YouTube, make sure you put what county you're on, and I will include it here on the agenda. And now those that are in Zoom, if you will take a moment and state your name and what county you're on. I'll start. Christine on Gibson. Go ahead.
Tom Becker on Lake County.
Welcome, Tom.
Hi, Christine.
Hi. Great to see you.
Casey on Clay County.
Hello, dear.
Hi.
Casey on your Clay County, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. She is one of the 2 on Clay County that are at least papered up and working on their armored up status. All right. Now let me get over to YouTube because there was a whole bunch over here. All right. So we've got Johnson County on the call. All right. So go ahead and if you can, pop in your first name as well so I can be able to get that in the agenda as well. But we've got Johnson County. We've got John on Lake County as well. Let me put you here. Done, and I saw Marion County, Jeff on Marion County, I think this is who I saw, if I'm correct on that. Yep, Jeff on Marion County, woo-hoo. All right. Okay, so, once, can you please put your name and county in the chat? And I'll be able to give you a response to your question here. Oh, that's Jeff on Marion. Gotcha. Never mind. My bad. Okay, so that is for elector status to own land. Okay. You can be a state citizen and still be able to function and do all the things of the cleaning up with the process, but it's the state elector that actually owns land. All right, thank you, dear. That's Roxy on Johnson County. Okay, let me get you put in here. All right, I'm gonna have to re-alphabetize because that's gonna drive me crazy. And that's Roxy. All right. Does that catch everybody? And then I think, and to qualify as juror, no, you do not have to be a land property owner to qualify as juror, because we can also, all else fails, we can use our vessels to support in the land aspect. But as far as being considered an elector, that's where you actually have to own land then. Okay. I think that's everybody in the call. All right. And if you'll notice, those that are on YouTube, early in the chat, I have the link for tonight's presentation so you can stay current with what we're doing here. Okay, so I think we should be good still here to keep. Okay, so I think that's everybody. Pretty good. All right, so we'll get rolling through here, run through a few things, and we're going to do start a quick training. We're going to start going ahead and combining the General Assembly with the training, as everybody had ended up putting in their their election request. But we are going to have to change this 7 o'clock time because it is getting kind of awkward to be able to do that. And we'll go through that as we get there. All right, so run through General Assembly Standing Committee of the Whole. The subcommittees within that, there's the General Education Committee, New Member Orientation, Events, Records, Treasury, Oversight, Ombudsman, Vetting, General Elections, Office of the Marshal at Arms. We really want to get our Marshal at Arms in play here. That will be very supportive for us. And that will be they will be working heavily with Joe, our coastal chief for Area 4. Okay. All right. So it gives you more details about the different committees within there. All right, for the International Business Standing Committee, there's the International Business Standing Committee, the International Education and Security Committee, and then the Congressional Committee. Now, the Congressional Committee is going to take a little bit longer before we're even anywhere close to ready for that, because all 50 states have to be up by that point for to move forward to Congressional. All right, then here we have General Assembly. There's the Court Venue Committee, Law Education Committee, Jury Pool, Court Oversight, Sheriff, Coroners, Litigation. Okay, the ones in red, these are the ones that we really need to get moving forward now, as well as getting our sheriffs, starting to move forward with our sheriffs as well. Okay, but again, these roles at this point, you have to be fully armored up, background check, member participation agreement, and actually do it. All right, Militia Assembly and CERT. We're kind of working in CERT because many connect and want to think militia is more for like a lack of a better term, like a military side, but there's also so much more of the community involvement aspect as well. For those that don't have any military training or anything like that. So that way it's all still combined, but many feel that they aren't supposed to participate in it at all because they think, oh, it's only going to be something where you have to go learn how to use some weapons and you're going to have to go fight. And that's part of it, but it's only if you're protecting and defending. But you've also got to learn that there's the community aspect of it. It's getting, learning that first aid within your community, because not everybody is going to be able to see that, first responders that they think coming around. We are that first responder. Anna said that all able-bodied members of the assembly between the ages of 21 and 65. It's not, again, it does not matter if you've had, it has nothing to do with if you've had any prior military experience, although helpful. But that's not the primary role of that. It's for us all to be able to get together so we can be able to see how we can actually support each other within the community and what we need to be able to help each other with, getting supplies to each other, getting that support across the state. Because don't look for the usual support systems. Okay, we have to become our own support system. All right. So here are the militia special purpose committees, their membership, provisions, education, and operations. And here are general education and training call details. Of course, if you have at least presented 1779, 2 witness testimonies and birth certificate, then you will have been sent access to Mattermost. Mattermost is valuable to be able to help you, support you through peeling out the process and when you're ready to start actually upholding the public law. Here are calls that are supportive across the country to be able to give you extra training. All right, goals. We want to improve the conversion rate from those that at least speak up to actually moving forward to papered up. And obviously we need to get more armored up. And then not just armored up, because many find it super easy to get all the paperwork done. But then just cannot get the background check, cannot even get in the member agreement in. It just, that part, these pieces, we've got to get them motivated, because you're not going to get to support the assembly without it. Just not happening. All right. So here, going through, we want to make sure we get the vetting committee process and committee in play. The process and procedures have been created. We just have to get people that are fully armored up with their background check and everything to be able to participate as vetting committee members. And then, of course, we need to work on standing up the counties. There are 27 populated, 32 that are in process, and 33 counties that have heard from no one yet. And obviously, we want to establish militia and CERT across the state, and then, of course, the counties, and outreach across. Need to work towards the special purpose grand jury and invoke ex parte Milligan. You need to pay attention, because you need to look that up. Look up that case, because it happened here on Indiana, and Indiana hasn't done anything to move towards it other than the first letter I sent out stating that we were in session, but nobody's done any movement further. But yet it's Indiana. It's an Indiana case that can save us all, but Indianians are having a hard time moving on it. Establish the Treasury Department, and then get banking committee functioning. All right, so to date, I've gone through of the this shows what counties have at least had at least one person that have presented birth certificate to witness testimonies in 1779. So there are 27 counties that are populated, 32 that someone's at least spoken up that were, and so as soon as they present, we can move them to at least to populate that county. And then over in the middle section, based on, because there are those that have declared citizen status, but yet still need to follow through with paperwork and things to be able to do that. So it's that reminder that that there's more work involved than just declaring yourself as a citizen. So and then so you'll be able to see how many for each county are papered up. So they've at least presented the minimum, and they have at least something else, you know, working towards being armored up. And then how many on that county are armored up? How many have presented a member agreement? How many have presented the intent to join the General Assembly? How many are actually eligible? And how many have presented background checks? There are some that have presented member agreements that are not eligible to be participating members yet because they have not completed the armored up process. Okay, so here is through Delaware County. Then here is Du Bois through Jackson, Jasper to Montgomery, Morgan to Scott, and then Shelby to Whitley. And then there are 129 that are in process that have not provided what county they're on. So I can't separate out what county they're on at this point yet. And so you'll see that there are 506 Indianians. That's eliminating. There was like 9 that were bad duplicate email addresses. So 506 on Indiana that have at least connected in. So we have them in the LRO so that they're at least getting the communications. Then there are 84 that are declared nationals, 15 declared citizens. So nationals and citizens, so they've at least presented the bare minimum, so they're declared. And then there are 4 on the state at this point that are declared federal persons. Federal persons are not eligible to actively participate in the business, jural, and business and jural assemblies, but there are elements of the General Assembly and the militia assembly aspects that they can still be able, some things they can support, but there's not a whole lot they're actually going to be able to do because that would be active participating, and that's still a conflict of interest. But there are some things that can help with on the General Assembly and basics in the militia assembly. All right, so of those, so there's 65 that are considered papered up. 34 are armored up. So it's those 34. Out of 34, 16 have presented member agreements, but not all of the 16 are a part of the 34 that are armored up. It's the armored up are the ones that have to move forward to actually, that have the standing to actually do anything. And then it's the member agreement. Now, the intent to join the General Assembly is if they did want to participate with the General Assembly aspect. And then there are, out of those, there are 10 that are actually eligible. And 4 have presented a background check. And you'll be able to see what county they're in within each. But you'll see, for example, here, St. Joseph, while a member agreement has been presented, it's not one that's armored up. And so that one that's presented the member agreement, they're not the one that's actually eligible. So it depends on, because many want to jump forward with getting that member agreement in, but then don't finish the process. So they're not going to be eligible to be participating members until they complete the armored up process, present the participation member agreement, and they have to do the background check. All right, so that's the update up to date of how many that are in the LRO. So again, there are 506 on Indiana within the LRO. Of those, 403 are in process. And then the remainder are at least papered up. And you have those numbers over here. Okay, so here's a visual on a map, what it looks like. So the counties that are red they have been populated. So at least one man or woman has presented their birth certificate, 2 witness testimonies, and 1779 at least. The ones that are yellow, they've at least sent an email, reached out saying that they want to know more. And for the month of May, there was a new Indianian on Allen County, Hendricks, and Marion. And I have another one here. Where are you? That just came in yesterday's mail that has she has at least the bare minimum in it for her national status. I gotta look her up. I think she's Lake as well. But I think she's either Lake or Allen. I think Lake. Anyway. All right. All right, so that's all the updates. We'll take a moment here before we get into this training. Scott, again, you have to present yourself. What county are you on so that you can present yourself to the rest of us as well? All right. We'll stop screen sharing that. I need to go ahead and then get the next part up. If you need to take a moment to get something to drink, we'll take a pause here while I get this training up here.
Christine, may I?
Yes, go ahead.
So this is Tom on Lake County. Did you get all my member agreements? And I think you did. I think we confirmed this. I haven't talked to you in a while, and then I did a background check.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Right now, you're on the call right now. You're the only one that has presented everything.
Okay, so I'm fully vetted in the whole 9 yards? Or you know what I mean?
Well,
I guess.
yeah,
In the
up to that
check,
actual
yeah.
vetting point. Yeah.
And I think you were gonna pass it along to Federation. I don't know what happened with that. If it was going any further up the chain.
Well, I need to take a moment and go ahead and get this next part up because I've got to get this in.
Okay. I was just confirming you got all my stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Let me get this email here. Let's see. Because I just did it over in there. Where? Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. Here's that. All right. All right, so I'm going to be taking you through, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm going to be taking you through where I have actually started one of the trainings on the Federation portal. I just have to, oh, that's for that. Oh, here we go. Okay. So when you do, if you wanted to go to the Federation training portal, when, to be able to do, because it's a self-directed course, you can go ahead and go to it yourself. And so you'll get an email that will have it'll have a download that will have a link that you're going to go to this so that you can be able to create your account password and everything. And then it will have you, then you'll get a second one with it. So just trying to give you somewhat of a walkthrough as to what to expect if you were going to go to do that yourself. Let me put this in, and then I hadn't logged on to this computer yet. I was on my laptop. All right. So when you're on, we'll minimize that, get out of that, because that'll pop up. Okay, so get logged in. Okay. So we'll screen share. All right. All right, so what I've done, this is the sum assembly required, and we're just going to go through the first lesson, and we'll start going through each lesson moving forward, depending on timing wise. It doesn't seem like it's each one are very lengthy, so we'll be able to start going through this process together, because these are all helpful. And if we can do it, if it takes us doing it together to be able to work through to make it happen so that we can all work on it and learn it together, I'm glad to do that. So we can do it together. All right. So that's how it'll come up for whatever course that you're working on. So, and then you'll click on. Okay. So the Supreme Republican Declaration of the United Colonies of America, 1775, declares the republican nature of the colonies and claims right of self-defense for each colony, farm, family, assembly. Did you catch that? The colonies claimed their air, global, soil and land, national, and sea, international jurisdictions by natural right in the same way that individual people have the right to self-defense. The unanimous declaration of these United American Colonies, published July 4th, 1776, declares the nation states people plus soil within prescribed boundaries. Each former colony issues its own non-enumerated declaration defining Georgia, Virginia, Maine, etc. Now we'll go back to this link here. We'll finish reading this. The new nation states combined forces to fight the Revolutionary War and chose a name, the United States of America, for their unincorporated union on September 9th, 1776. So this is not something new created by the Federation and ANA. They're just actually upholding what was already designed and created, the United States of America. The United States of America unincorporated is fully sovereign. It functions as a holding company for the nation states. The new states had plenary jurisdiction over the soil, and via the United States of America, claim to their international and global jurisdiction too. All right, let's go here. The Virginia Declaration of Rights. Virginia Declaration of Rights was drawn upon by Thomas Jefferson for the opening paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. It was widely copied by the other colonies and became the basis of the Bill of Rights written by George Mason. It was adopted by the Virginia Constitutional Convention on June 12th of 1776. A Declaration of Rights is made by the representatives of the good people of Virginia, assembled in full and free convention, which rights do pertain to them and their posterity, as the basis and foundation of government. Section 1, that all men are by nature equally free and independent and have certain inherent rights, of which, when they enter into a state of society, they cannot by any compact deprive or divest their posterity, namely the employment of life and liberty with the means of acquiring and possessing property and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. Section 2, that all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people, that magistrates are their trustees and servants and at all times amendable to them. And again, why would Virginia's Declaration of Rights here have any relevance to us? Well, agreement number 4 in the International Peace Treaty is that we have equal standing, equal footing across all 50 states. Okay. Section 2, that all power is vested in and consequently derived from the people, that magistrates are their trustees and servants and at all times amendable to them. Again, okay. Section 3, that government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community, of all the various modes and forms of government that is best, which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is most effectively secured against the danger of maladministration. And that when any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community has an indubitable, inalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, or abolish it in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal. So there's several words that if you don't know, if they seem very odd to you, look them up. You need to have a dictionary. You need to have several different versions. And use etymonline.org like I've got in the presentation, because that'll give you some of the background history of some of the words as well. Section 4, that no man or set of men is entitled to exclusive or separate emoluments or privileges from the community, but in consideration of public services, which nor being descendable, neither ought the offices of magistrate, legislature, or judge to be hereditary. Section 5, that the legislative and executive powers of the state should be separate and distinct from the judiciary, and that the members of the two first may be restrained from oppression by feeling and participating the burdens of the people. They should, at fixed periods, be reduced to a private station, return into that body from which they were originally taken, and the vacancies be supplied by frequent, certain, and regular elections, in which all or any part of the former members to be again eligible or ineligible, as the laws shall direct. And we don't want to fall right back into the, well, so-and-so's done such a great job, so nobody else is going to stand up, so we'll just let them keep holding the seat. That's not how that works either. That just puts it right back in the same situation. Section 6, that elections of members to serve as representatives of the people in assembly ought to be free, and that all men having sufficient evidence of permanent common interest with an attachment to the community have the right of suffrage and cannot be taxed or deprived of their property for public uses without their own consent or that of their representatives so elected, nor bound by any law to which they have not in like manner assented for the public good. Section 7, that all power of suspending laws or the execution of laws by any authority without consent of the representatives of the people is injurious to their rights and ought not to be exercised. Section 8, that in all capital or criminal prosecutions, a man has a right to demand the cause and nature of his accusation, to be confronted with the accusers and witnesses, to call for evidence in his favor, and to speedy trial by an impartial jury of 12 men of his vicinage, without whose unanimous consent he cannot be found guilty, nor can he be compelled to give evidence against himself. That no man be deprived of his liberty except by the law of the land or the judgment of his peers. Section 9, that excessive bailout not be required, nor excessive fines be imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Section 10, what general warrants whereby an officer or messenger may be commanded to search suspected places without evidence of a fact committed, or to seize any person or persons not named, or whose offenses is not particularly described and supported by evidence, are grievous and oppressive and ought not to be granted. Section 11, that in controversies respecting property and in suits between man and man, the ancient trial by jury is preferable to any other and ought to be held sacred. Section 12, that the freedom of the press is one of the great bulwarks of liberty and can never be restrained by the despotic governments, which, by the way, freedom of the press, if you're in Mattermost, there is a channel of where those that are interested in being being a member of the press for Americans, there is a channel on Mattermost that has started to support that aspect. Section 13, that a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people trained to arms is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state, that standing armies in times of peace should be avoided as dangerous to liberty, and that in all cases the military should be under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. Section 14, that the people have a right to uniform government, and therefore that no government separate from or independent of the government of Virginia ought to be erected or established within the limits thereof. Section 15, that no free government or the blessings of liberty can be preserved to any people but by a firm adherence to justice, moderation, temperance, frugality, and virtue, by frequent recurrence to fundamental principles. And then section 16, that religion or the duty which we owe to our Creator and the manner of discharging it can be directed only by reason and conviction, not by force or violence, and therefore all men are equally entitled to the free exercise of religion according to the dictates of conscience, and that is the mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity toward each other. Okay. So let's see. What does that do next? So that's that whole, should be that whole lesson, and we'll see a walkthrough here for the quiz. Okay, so our Republican nation states are formed by what?
B.
I didn't hear you, dear. Sorry.
Declarations.
Declarations. All right, we'll put that in. Let me get back there. Wherever I have that. Okay. Declarations. The United States of America unincorporated is it A, fully sovereign? B, the first and last union formed by our nation states? C, functions as a holding company for the nation states? Or D, all of the above? The United States of America unincorporated is fully sovereign. It is the first and last union formed by our nation states. And it does function as a holding company for the nation states. So it is all of the above. Do, 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 do. All right. Okay. So we'll see how. Okay. One of two. So what was it? Right. Correct. Fully sovereign. It is all of that. So I missed it. But it does function as a holding company for the nation states. Anyway, so we can see how this goes, right? So now we have to go back and fix that because that'll just drive me crazy now that we know. Let's see. Are you going to go back to? Yeah, it's still taking a moment. And so we'll do that for each one. Okay, so now I can do it. Okay, so KC was correct. Declarations for our republic nation states are formed by declarations. And we know it's fully sovereign, even though we know it does function as a holding company for the nation states, but the way this is set up. Okay, so we'll go ahead with that. So when we go to when we start, get into lesson 2, and the next call will be in a good space. And then we'll just do these and get some of this background history done together. All right, come on. Pop it up. Get things wrapped up here. No, unincorporated. Yeah, it's all unincorporated. Okay, 2 of 2. All right, so next call we'll do lesson 2 on that one. So let me stop screen sharing on that. Okay, so a last pointer I want to bring up is that I went to the commonlawyer.com website and purchased the bundle for the 4 PDF books and the 4 study guides that have, it's the first one is the Declaration of 1776 and United States Constitution, where Brent Allen Winters does a breakdown of both of those. The second one is let me pull these up so I can, where do I have that? Oh, I will have it on here. Do I have this? Yeah. Okay, let's see. All right, so then there's Don't Talk to the Police, the PDF of the book and the study guide, the juror handbook, the handbook and the study guide from Brent Allen Winters, and then the Militia of the Several States, the book and the study guide. So I'm going to start, so Wednesdays are great for education, type information. Wednesdays are all about communication, Mercury rules Wednesdays for communication. So moving the general ed call time to 11 a.m. And then I will be adding in on Wednesdays. I'm gonna start this one first. And then I will send an email out for that time. These will all be on Wednesdays. They will, there will be a recording, either come or, I know that I'll be learning from it, and hopefully others will be able to learn from it as well. And we can start getting some getting some real training going on here and start getting some meat, getting into the work of it all. All right. So know that those are 4 study trainings that are going to be coming through, and they will be added on Wednesdays. Wednesdays seem to work out well for my schedule to be able to work that in, to bring those added calls in. I have also opened up my schedule to those that, if they did want to travel here to Gibson County on Saturdays from 1 to 3 to do live recordings in the flesh, person-to-person recordings. But it is an RSVP. It's not going to be to just show up. We have to have connected and confirmed beforehand, because I do have to travel into town as well to be able to make that happen. But I've got that schedule out there opened up for Saturdays. This 7 o'clock time here on Sundays does have to change so that I can be able to, because this is the same time that the all-state coordinator calls are. And so there's been many calls here that, there's been also technical difficulties and everything, but there's a lot of state coordinator calls that I could be on that call, gathering some information to be able to bring at a better time when others are able to be able to make it to the call. So that's why, that's one of the main reasons this 7 o'clock isn't, because I've missed several now. And that's really going to be, it's helpful for all of us if I'm at those calls as well. All right. Thank you, Tom. Be safe. All right.
You too. Likewise. Thank you.
All right.
Nice seeing everybody. New faces. Nice seeing everybody. Thank you.
Peace and love.
Good night.
All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll wrap up here. Do our little, got to put the little, link in about, so if you wanted an opportunity to support the assembly, costs still do occur. You may think that just because you've been taxed out by the de facto, that doesn't change, that doesn't bring it here. That doesn't make it happen here. Okay, still funds need to come here to be able to support and keep things moving here for the assembly as well. Here are various opportunities to be able to support the assembly. All right, and again, if you did want to, if you didn't want to deal with electronic and you wanted to mail directly, you can be able to send it here. Here's the link for a free consult with me if you wanted that. And if other services, you can be able to go there. And there, of course, there's the assembly member points of order, participation member agreement, you're not eligible to be a participating member until you have to be armored up and then present the participation member agreement. Then there's a background check. Everybody goes through it. And while many of you like to come on the free YouTube opportunities, you still refuse to want to actually present yourself and declare yourself correctly, and still think you're, wanting to try and create separation. But it's okay. When you're ready to present yourself correctly, I'll be here for you. All right. Let me get this back over here. All right. So again, you can send agenda items to records@theindianaassembly.org. And again, if you have not presented the bare minimum birth certificate, 2 witness testimonies and 1779, you're not getting very far with being able to try and take over the conversation. Okay. There are those out there that think they like to get on the call several times, but still they don't want to do the actual work. They want to try and think they're going to try and stir up trouble, but that's not happening here. All right. I will be updating the time, of course, once we get a better time. So we'll go ahead. I want to thank everyone for making the opportunity to be able to get out on the call. It'll be up on YouTube as well as the Assembly website, where the links, all the recordings have been going and everything. The presentations are going. And again, if you're not willing to present yourself honorably with your paperwork, don't even bother to come. You're wasting your own time. You're only lying to yourself by still playing your games. Okay. So at this point, I'm only putting for the agenda here for the 18th at 7 again. So to keep the consistency, but I will be working at sending an email out for a better day and time. All right. Okay, so, and again, as Americans, we take ownership and responsibility for our own actions. We don't whine and complain and blame others. If you're waiting on your 2 witnesses, maybe you need to find another 2 witnesses or get them motivated. They can go to any public notary with that witness testimony, but that's not holding you up from presenting your birth certificate. It's not holding you up from going ahead and presenting your 1779 declaration. It's not holding you up from going ahead and sending your current photo ID or driver's license to verify who you are. Not holding any of that up, but that seems to be a great excuse to not present anything to be able to get things moving. So see how you do on it, work with that one. All right, so we'll go ahead and I want to put Casey, you end up are the one left on the call. We're gonna kind of, because Tom ended up having to bail out for the evening. So I'm putting it out there. Do you give a motion to adjourn to the next call?
I do.
Thank you, dear. Casey on Clay. All right, and I will go ahead and make that second motion because you will have to be on the Zoom call to be able to participate in that aspect. All right, so on Gibson, and so we were all in favor. So I want to thank you all. Have a great evening. Peace and love. And again, you got to connect and communicate. If you got things that you're ready to start getting to work on and start participating, get with me. I would love to hear what you're ready to do and start moving on. If it's all going to be complaining and blaming, and why you're still not able to do something, I can't help you anymore other than, be a sounding board because I still can't move it for you. So, but when you're ready to actually take some action and actually participate and actually be honorable and stand up and present yourself honorably, I'm here. I'm ready to be able to help you be able to to start making those changes within your own life, as well as to be able to start supporting the reclamation process and the correction and get things moving forward. All right, I'll stop talking.